All right. So, orientation to expressive arts therapy. So, as we looked into what expressive arts therapy is, we're going to look into the innate artistic skills of us and use it as a tool, use it as a therapeutic tool to initiate change, so that when we are taking it up on ourselves, we go through this change, as well as when we work with our clients. It's useful for us to put it into practice by knowing the right methodology of bringing it to application. So it's not that we initially do it, but it takes some time for us to establish a rapport with our client before we use the different modalities, and by practice this multi arts intermodal approach, and to improvisation is on the spot to take a decision, to see what your client can do and what your client is more inclined towards, what modality your client is more inclined towards. So to get that knowledge, it's very important for us before we conduct an expressive arts therapy session. So just want you to give a reading of the history of the expressive arts therapy in your mind. Though it existed as independent forms of therapy, for instance visual arts, music, dance, psychodrama, so they've been existing as individual therapies. But then I think it took quite a while that to put everything under the same roof. It was Pal O'Neill, a leader in the field, that founded this international network of the expressive arts therapy training centers, which was inculcated in 1984. And to begin with, it was with the European training institutes that it was quite popular, and its origin comes from there. And then today, like, it's there existing in different countries, including India. So, in the training course which we are going through now, uh, all of you being from a psychology background, while you're in the process of using these in your sessions, you can use it as a tool. See, like how we like equip ourselves with some other therapeutic approaches. Maybe we specialize in CBT, we might specialize in behavior BMT, that's behavior modification therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or we are someone who has done some specialization in TA, transaction analysis. That is one area which we will also be like inculcating along with the counseling skills or techniques which we already know. So whatever we learn further is going to just be an added tool for us to use it in practice. So that way, whatever you're practicing, whatever you're learning, that can be used in your therapeutic sessions. But I think to call ourselves an expressive arts a therapist, there needs to be a proper degree, a university degree. And then when we did this course in Women's Christian College, we had this opportunity to register ourselves with the Expressive Arts Therapy Association. So I think it was Mrs. Magdalene Jayaratnam of East West Center for Counseling who introduced that and did the first graduation program, bringing people here. and she conducted it for us, the graduation program. And we had this opportunity to register ourselves. So this is one something that's quite useful. So I'm just trying to differentiate and tell you what is the role of an expressive arts therapist and what a difference it makes for a counselor to use these tools. So that is what we are doing now. What expressive arts therapy can help with both adults and children? So, expressive arts therapy can be used from anyone from the age of 4, anyone from the age of 4 to senior citizens, old people. So, people can go through different kinds of things like anxiety. Now, children are hyperactive in the sense they're not able to sit in one place, pay attention to class. There can be various reasons of why a particular child is behaving that way. Why I'm talking about more about a child is because for adults we are not much focused whether they are into hyperactivity or not. But for children, that comes out when they are put in school. So when the teacher is facing a challenge, when the parent is facing a challenge at home, then we talk about it. I think for them, like to rather than putting them on a label, I think it's very important as a school counselor to help them to reduce that hyperactivity. So I think we have each one of us have different styles of how we can inculcate that in our practice. And there can be people who are going through grief, maybe loss of a loved one, or they have a love failure, they have a relationship failure, the marriage failed, but that one person is not able to accept it because the person got deceived in the marriage. I was working with a client whose wife, due to adultery, was not in connect with him just because she wanted a divorce. She left him, she just abandoned him overnight. And he could not again get an opportunity to go and speak to her or approach her and talk about it, because what he wanted was to just have a mediation to talk with her and come to common grounds. And later he comes to know the fact that there was adultery involved, and then he regrets the whole thing because it was being a love marriage. He had opposed, there was a lot of opposition for it, and he had like foregone his parents, relatives, everyone, and married the person. But then this person does this, so there's so much of shame, guilt, and other things that that individual could have gone through. So this is something where the person goes through different phases in grief. Exclusively, we call it as grief counseling. Where first there's a shock that to take it and believe that this has happened, and secondly, it is denial. I can't take it. I cannot accept that such a thing has happened to me. And I'm finding it very difficult to hear that this is like happened to me. So that denial phase will be there for some time, and then the bargaining phase. So trying to somehow reconcile with the person by saying that uh, if I do this to her, I mean, maybe she wanted certain things when they were in a relationship. So if I go and do such things, favors for her, will she come back? If I go and even like apologize to her by falling on her feet, will she come and live with me again? That is a bargaining phase where they keep self blaming, or they're willing to do something extra to get the person back. That's a bargaining phase. Finally comes acceptance. There's no other way, After a point, we should understand that the other party has moved on, and we too have to come to consensus with reality and what needs to be done. No, when somebody says that I'm not interested to live with you and you file a case, that's not working because mind wise the person is already moved. You cannot threaten someone or force someone to get back and live with you until the person feels that they have to reconcile with you. So that is one thing, that you can help your clients with. And people with injuries, even physical injuries, whether it is accident or some other hurt which they got, and even like some chronic medical conditions for a very long period of time they've been having this, maybe say type 1 diabetes. Even very young children have this condition. And that is only a question of maintenance. It's not something of cure. And I um, worked with a few kids in a trust run by Maduram in Coimbatore. So there are children with cancer as well as type 1 diabetes and other medical conditions where the parents are not able to afford for their treatment. So the trust is taking care of it. And Saturdays there is an opportunity for people like us to go meet the children, do some work with them in terms of like mental well-being, and they'll have their own concerns which they want to talk, which they want to share. So for them this kind of expressive arts would be something very beautiful because it's very painful, and children cannot verbalize what they're going through, the pain, but they understand what they're going through. They know that something is not okay, and they put in a tough phase, and the family is also facing something tough. So that they know, and it's very painful to even sit in a scan center to watch kids who go through this PET scan, because and other kind of scans which is exclusively for these kind of conditions. I've seen children with their heads shaved, very young children, and it's not head shaved, but the hair is fallen off because of the condition they have, something like cancer. And there are many children who are having health issues in terms of autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune conditions are very have become quite popular nowadays. Even while we counsel, I've had some kids who came and spoke to me about these kind of autoimmune diseases, and then this albumin leakage. That is, there's a protein loss in the body. Every time they excrete the protein in the body, goes away. It is a metabolic disorder. Something, it's like a condition where we have to maintain by giving them the proper supplements on however the physician is guiding the particular patient. So these are some chronic medical conditions which are going to last with people for a quite longer time. And I think we have a very important role here to play. And I know many people I've met, they in abroad there are hospitals. They work in hospitals in collaboration with other specialists, their general physician, or it can be their endocrinologist, or it can be their rheumatologist. Even like people who are going through pregnancy and have some complications, so they can work in connection with gynecs. So I've heard of such therapists who are employed in hospitals, who are employed in prisons, the correctional facilities abroad. But here, I think we do have psychologists, especially in places like Adyar Cancer Institute. We do have psychologists who are specialized in oncology. There's a course called psycho-oncology. So they have people like that. But then I'm not quite sure about in India how far people are taking in people who are exclusively trained in expressive arts therapy, due to that lack of awareness, as I told you, because it's quite something very latest. So when I did the program also, I like most of my trainers were from abroad. And yeah, depression, all of us know, eating disorders. Anorexia nervosa and bulimia are conditions for especially people who are in their teenage, and young adults can go through. They might, especially the females who go through this, because I think because the many people believe that we need to somehow fit into the societal standards of beauty. So to have a curvy body is in like is very important. And some people can starve themselves to the extent that they become of bone and skin. And this bulimia is a condition where there's we call it a binge and purge. Binging means at one time we eat a lot, and to purge is to vomit. So I eat a lot and then I vomit. I self-induce myself to vomit. So that these are the medical conditions which need to be given more attention and treated. And it can also be worked with therapy. One actress, I think her name is Eliana. She spoke openly about the condition that she had, anorexia nervosa. She has done a few movies in Tamil and Telugu. Hindi, I think she's done a lot. I'm not sure whether she's done a lot of movies, but I know her. She's acted in this very popular movie with actor Vijay also. So she said that she suffered with that condition, and now when you look at her, she's like quite. She's gained a lot of weight. We don't know what she's going through right now, but in an interview, she openly said, she spoke about it, and she maybe she wanted to spread awareness about it. Like how Deepika Padukone is also spreading awareness because she went through depression, and she feels that celebrities like her, if they come forward to talk about it, I think it is going to be very effective for people to break that stigma and to give that awareness that it's okay to meet a mental health professional. And emotional problems, yes, of course, we go through different kinds of emotions. And especially when we are going through a lot of negative emotions, we tend to seek help. Interpersonal issues, there can be problems between mother, son, or father, daughter, or with siblings, or with our spouse, with our children, after a period when they're just beginning into their adolescence. I think there's a clash between many parents and children because maybe the difference in generation, or the initial foundation and the rapport is not there with their children. It's not developed maybe, so that can be one of the reason that the child is showing disrespect towards the parent, and the parent maybe failed to spend quality time towards them. Or sometimes it can be the other way also. And poor self-esteem. So to build up our confidence and our esteem is very important. So there's one difference between self confidence and self esteem. Self confidence is Tanambikai. You call it as Tanambika in Tamil. And when it is self esteem, it is Suyamaryadai, self respect. Post traumatic stress disorder, we have heard of PTSD, we would have studied about it. So there are so many relief camps in which we can conduct these kind of activities. People face personal issues as well as professional issues, and due to that, they might be carrying a lot of stress. So, what is very important is that to address that, because when I'm unhappy in my personal life, that can reflect on my professional life. When I'm unhappy in my professional life, that can in turn impact my personal life. because I think both have very important roles to play for each of us. So, this I've given you an introduction of what it was. I just want you to just give it a reading about the different modalities and how it helps us in terms of channelizing and tuning our emotions, thoughts, experiences. We will be taking up each of these modalities and doing a lot of self work. If I can move to the next slide, please put a thumbs up. If I can move to the next slide, please put a thumbs up. So, I think what is very important to us is to know that you are the artist of your life. Don't give the paintbrush to anyone else. So they might end up scribbling in your piece of artwork. Maybe I want to construct it in a way, but when I'm not taking the right decision at the right time and I'm giving the brush to someone else, they might end up scribbling in it because they don't know exactly what I want. It's possible. So here, I think to take a decision is very important, and sometimes people don't take decisions, and someone else takes decisions for them. Later, they regret, or later they complain, or they say that it's okay, and they accept what it is. Uh, but then towards the end, I think what is more necessary for us is to feel satisfied and fulfilled every day before we go to bed. To feel that sense of accomplishment, or to feel satisfied for whatever we did that particular day, is very important. But I think that comes only when we are able to take decisions and responsibility for our own self, rather than uh, indulging people to take decisions for us, because we are adults. And I think that space should be given. It is existing. It's not that somebody is giving it to us, but I think we need to utilize that in the wise way, whether it is a male or a female. So, not making a decision is also a decision. Sometimes I stay calm, I listen to what my parents are saying, or I just blindly listen to what my spouse is saying, or my in laws are saying, or in my office, whatever they're saying, even if I'm not comfortable, I still listen to it. And I think that decision of mine to not take a decision is also a decision. So these are some diagrams of self expressions of like how the person feels themselves. In the first diagram, the individual has used art modality, the paint modality, and in the second image is again an art modality where they've used color pencils. The person has also used a phrase to explain about maybe the what that person felt. Flourished as a person breaking all the barrier is what she speaks about herself. The first is a male client, the second is a female client. So, this is a way in which I represent myself in arts. A very strong depiction of anger and sadness is the first picture. The second picture is again anger outburst. People speak about their emotions after they put it on a piece of art. They put it out as a piece of art. Then they talk about it. And then we connect with them by probing more, with leading questions to get more information about what kind of a scenario they are in order to help them. Children, generally, when we talk to children, we can use some techniques like asking them what is your favorite animal. We'll be doing that activity, but I'm just trying to tell you that this activity exists. Like, however they know, they will draw. There's no right or wrong that we are giving to these children. One more thing I wanted to say is that along with the other modalities, there's also this play therapy where we encourage children to use sand. In a therapeutic setting, there are certain institutions that make it possible that we can help children with the sand play, fill it with sand, and then there are jars of objects, toys. We arrange it, and like we are giving them the space to arrange it as they wish, and they speak about how they have arranged it and put it. No, that speaks about a lot of their current situation and what they are holding. And if it's a behavioral issue for which the particular child is referred, I think our focus will be on gathering the required information which we need about the child to help the child. So these are certain techniques where the child projects themselves as the animal, especially when you take children who are quite aggressive. They either say, I'm a tiger, so this is a tiger, either a tiger or a lion or a jaguar or a cheetah. So here there's a person who's just expressed herself, it's an adult. So when she speaks about this character, she says that it is my best friend, 19 years old. She's very happy. She always likes to tease me and also likes to eat. Are certain things which she describes about the character. Based on why this particular client has come to meet us, we will lead the client further. So you can see in the first image, we are talking about life stories here, and we are inculcating the art modality as well. Uh, just look at the person sitting at the corner of the terrace, the wall of the terrace, and there's also a sun. Maybe the person is depicting the daytime. The person has also depicted the nighttime there. So it could be an indication that the person is thinking, is deeply in thoughts. Can any of you tell me what is your feeling when you look at this picture, the first one? You can share what you feel about the first picture. Anyone. There's no right or wrong. Yeah, no one wants to speak.
Ma'am, I think maybe this person, like he or she is trying to think of both the positive, I mean, analyze both the positive aspects of of their life and the events based on situations in negative and positive, and trying to see like where he or she is really standing in it and how to approach it from that particular view.
Okay. So Sridhar says that the person is in wonder. Yeah, but this particular client, to me, because I know the client, the client is like sticking on to a tight schedule and is more time conscious. What are my duties at the daytime? What are my duties at night? And I'm also like feeling that need for an lonely time to sit and think about my plans. But maybe the person is also depicting risk. When you're sitting at the corner in a terrace wall, it could be depicting risk, the person being in a tough place also, risky place also. But from what they're drawing, we cannot come to conclusions. It's very important for us to clarify with the client about what they feel. So when each of us look at this diagram, maybe Vidya ma'am is able to like see something, Geeta ma'am is able to see something else, Sridhar is able to think, I mean, look at this in a different way, and Swati maybe, if I don't know what the client is go through, maybe has gone through, maybe I also look at it in a different way. But what is very important here is how the client is seeing herself or himself. So in this, it is a female. And my ideal life, to explore your life, we've used colors here, color psychology. So that is the psychology behind many ads which are promoted. Like, let us just imagine that in while crossing a signal, there's a board, and they're just writing there that this particular textile or jewelry showroom is offering these kind of jewels for this price or something. We were just writing. I don't think people will be looking at it. But once there's an ad with an actress or a celebrity wearing a lot of jewelry and silk sari, and then you put it on the in that place, all the attention will go towards it because it's a picture which is colorful and people like to see, and that is quite more catchy than writing. So, similarly, even for studies, we train children for using mind maps because they're able to analyze which is the main heading, which are the subheadings, and what are the other important topics which I have to remember before I go for exam. Because the day before the exam or in the morning before the exam, it's not possible for me to read every page of my textbook. But while I'm studying, when I'm making these maps, it's very easy that when I just go through it, even if I forget certain points, I can still manage with whatever information I have. But here we are just using it to just analyze my ideal future or my life. People can have different paths, like ambitions, travel, the people, important people, our dreams, education, career, interests, hobbies, managing time, so on. So for this person, it's a middle-aged female who did this. She's like presented whatever she felt was her ideal future for her. But as we know, perceptions are different from person to person, and goals are different. So so that same activity, when I'm taking, it will be different, you're taking, it will be different for each of us based on our priorities, our life experiences, and what we need in life can be quite different. Yeah, this is again like a flow chart the person has expressed the person's life and what I'm looking for in the first image. The second image, uh, it's a family. The person who drew it was a woman who felt that it was her perception that people around her, whether it is in her neighborhood or in the relative circle, um, all that faces around are the people who are looking at her family, because she thinks that financially they are quite progressive compared to other relatives and people around them, because because of her husband's good position in a company. So you can see that house has no doors, has no windows. It's quite intact and closed, and there are hearts inside. So there is love. She says that there's love between the four in the family, but all others are looking at us, and that is giving her fear. That is giving her anxiety. That is making her feel sad. But then, as a counselor, I think I have a bigger role to play in just trying to help her to look into the reality. Maybe people could be jealous or whatever it is, because we are all humans. We can have positive emotions, we can have negative emotions, but we can't 100% believe that whatever we believe is the fact. See, because every individual has their own challenges, they have their own problems to face, and they have their own lives to live. Not that 24 bar 7 people are thinking about us. It's not possible. And it's not that everybody around you is looking at you, that you have to like overprotect yourself. I don't believe in that. But I think she has genuinely expressed her authentic feeling. With due respect to that, we take it in a positive way, that um, we try to help her to see the reality so that she feels better. We are interested in the present well-being as well as the future well-being of that particular client. So when somebody is that in that kind of mindset, the person restricts people. She restricts people from the husband's family, and thereby there are chances that she gets into conflicts with her husband, or maybe she's not able to maintain a good relationship in the same campus. This person belongs to a gated community, and other things, no, maybe that other person is not thinking about you at all, but you are only thinking about the other person, thinking that that person is thinking so and so about me, such and such a thing about me, is our own perception. Sometimes it has happened to many of us as well. It could have been happened, no, we don't know. To me, I think sometimes I would have thought that the other person is thinking this way about me, but sometimes it would have been my own imagination or my own overthinking. So we can see in the first picture that the person is looking for a work life balance. Okay. Visual arts and storytelling put together. So people have their own stories, they can create their own stories. It all depends upon the client's creativity and the artistic skill of your client. This first picture, the client was able to talk about, depict herself as a fairy, and there was a fairy tale where she spoke about different aspects. And later, when you like listen to the whole story, the way they narrate it, and you're able to connect that with their real life, with whatever they're going through, and you ask them a few questions, we get a lot of information about what that individual is going through. So, second piece of art again, it is a vacation for a couple, and there's fire, coffee, you know, a tea or a coffee shop there, and vehicle to travel, and green trees. So some enjoyment, and they will have their own life story of how they want to proceed or how they want to take it forward. They'll have their own stories once they complete it, and then they narrate it to us. Narrative skills, creative speaking, and we've also involving visual arts in this. So we're talking about certain characters here. The first story, there's a girl who's a character. The second story, the story revolves around a butterfly. Then they talk about various things about the ambitions, goals, or desires, or wants of the character, like however they've taken the story across, and what strengths the character has. And the character can have their own liabilities also. Not everybody is good at everything. All of us can have our own plus, all of us can have our own blind spots. And what is very important is how the character deals with certain things when they are looking forward to achieve. It can be like tell us how equipped they are with their problem solving strategies, how equipped they are in terms of their coping strategies, and how do they generally end the story is very important. The goal of an individual can be as simple as marriage or finding happiness in life. It can be anything. If you ask a school kid, they might say that what they wanted was to win first prize in the running race. That also is a goal of that particular individual. The storytelling and visual arts, yeah, it's something similar. You can just take a look at it. We too will be taking this up in the future. Music, dance movements, and visual arts. When we move our bodies in a body movement therapy, there are different things which we actually explore about ourselves in terms of how our body feels is always interconnected with the mind. Body and mind are interconnected. Physically, if I feel healthy, then mentally also I might be more functional. Mentally, if I feel weak, though I'm physically fit, I might feel lethargy. I might feel lack of motivation to move or go out or do my regular routines. Any kind of body movement, like either you do yoga or you go to the gym or you go for a walk, you do jogging, you do skipping, or you just close your door and you dance for some time. I think that creates a lot of endorphins and happiness hormones in your body, which helps you to self explore and gives you more relief. Some kind of relief we feel even when we go out, we go for a walk and we come back. It gives us some kind of a relief. When sometimes I feel very stressful, I like to clean the garden. So just pulling out the grass and setting up the lawn, I take up that work, which I feel that after I do the household work, I get relaxed. There's some sense of relaxation when I'm doing something with my body. So here in the second piece of artwork, you can see a path, reflections on the other side, a person walking through, and it's that person's life journey which they will narrate to us. This is creative writing. So here we've asked the participant to talk about an emotion which is disturbing them the most. So it is in the first letter, it is Dear Mr. Frustration. Similarly, in the second letter, it is Hello Loneliness. So they're picking up one emotion which they want to address and they're writing it. And in a psychodrama session, it's made possible that we place our frustration in a particular area within the therapeutic session, and then you pass on the letter to that Mr. Frustration or that loneliness. And what a few words of a reply of to the letter which we want to hear, which might ease ourselves. So these are certain things which can happen in a psychodrama session, but to facilitate it as a psychodrama, a pure therapeutic psychodrama session, we need a lot of training. But my suggestion to all of you is that whatever we are confident doing with whichever we have learned, maybe I can help my client to ease themselves by asking them to talk about their emotion. That is not, I'm not harming them, and I can give some few affirmative words for the letter which they've written. So that I'm not going to cause any harm. Suppose if I'm not a trained psychodrama professional, it is not suggestible for me to take the next step to go and conduct it and take it to the next level of therapeutic work. So with this, we can just wind up with giving them some positive affirmations for what they're expressing, and we're giving them an opportunity to express the emotion and what is the story behind that emotion and what I want to really convey to that emotion. So the first picture we have a person who's written about the person's anger. Sometimes there can be some characters in our life to whom we are not able to convey certain things, but we wanted to actually convey, or maybe we still want to convey, but we feel that that's not going to serve a purpose in conveying this to that individual. So maybe in a therapeutic session, I write a letter to that individual. Sometimes our mind process the same thing scenario in a way that we've already conveyed this to that person after that therapy. So my guilt can be lesser if I'm feeling guilt towards that person. If I wanted to convey gratitude, I feel happy if I've done that. It can be just that I'm doing it only between four walls, but still that gives me some ease. Maybe I wanted to apologize to someone, but I failed to. There can be people who are talking about dead people, dead mother. I had a client. So she wrote a letter to her dead mother. So, like, that was so much that she wanted to convey to that person who was not there from her life from a very young age. So all that she put down, and many clients who bring up these things, they their chances that they emotionally break down, they cry. And I think it's very mandatory for us when we have a clinical setup to have a tissue paper. I generally have tissue papers, whether it is whichever setting, whether I go to a school or college or it's a corporate setting or my own clinic. It used to be that I provide people with that facility. That facility is needed, and also some drinking water, hygienic water, preferably. Uh, so these are some examples of how creative writing can be also inculcated in the process of healing. Relationships with people is something which is very important, which are portrayed in this particular work. It's for us to see who are the significant people in our life and what is the connection which we have with them. Is it positive, or are we very cautious and watchful towards people, or are we sensing danger towards them? So, when you talk about all this, and then this activity is named My Social Atom, and then like we will be doing that, and we tend to analyze what's there in our mind. Maybe we think something else, but when we're doing this activity, certain different patterns come out. Then we understand that maybe this is what it is. After a long time, I took this up when I did it with the previous batch. I felt that the number of significant people have become lesser now compared to previously what it was. It was a vast, extended professional circle which I wanted to include in my social atom. When I was given this activity 10 years back to make a family atom, there were fewer family members and more of colleagues, mentors, professors, that kind of thing. And then I felt that I was more, no, it makes me feel that my origin is more from the career. It's my mindset. People from outside can look at me in a different way. But what is there in my mind, my world is different from how people think my world is. So here we are only talking about how I feel about myself, and um, how do I think about the world around me. What do I think about the world around me? Who are my people? So maybe we can help people uh, for building good interpersonal relationships, or to help people who are sensing danger and other things. So, very beautifully, you can ask your client to express their current state of mind artistically. So, you can see the first picture, the blank state of unfriendliness, isolated, dysfunctional, shouldering anger, can light a fire. I don't see you. In the first image, the eyes are open, second, the eyes are closed. Who are you? I'm sorry. Are we related? The deathly silence. So it's a diagram of a person who went through sexual abuse, verbal abuse, a lot of insults. She went through so many challenges in her life, and when she did this work, she was in her mid 30s, was still single, but it was she who wanted to like let go of the marriage, with her boyfriend. I was trying to work with both to somehow sort it out. But then somewhere she suddenly, unexpectedly took a decision to not go with that process. The second state is a meditative state, and lack of emotions can be seen. I'm not experiencing anything, is what the person is depicting here. Lack of eyes, nose, mouth. It could be that the person is going facing apathy as well, expressionless, no emotions. That kind of a state, some people can be, they can become emotionally numb after a period of time. Emotional numbness comes when I feel that I've really gone through a lot in life and I don't want to expose my emotions outside. So that's possible for people to feel that way. As I told you, because everybody's life experiences are quite different. From time to time, also, what I face can change, what you feel can change. We are not the same people whom we were 10 years back. And here we're looking at a person who took up a program for anger management with expressive arts. So the first diagram is my dream life. So this is something which she wants to connect with nature, just lie down, watching the sunrise with a puppy dog and some hot soup. So this is her relaxation. In the second image, you can see, no, she analyzed what was the difference in the challenges she faced. She's moving forward in the first diagram, but she's carrying thoughts of people who are talking behind her. That way, in the reflection, you can see a sad face. But in that now diagram, though there are people behind her, um, she is not much concerned about they talking about her. They're talking behind her. And that's why, as a reflection, you can see a smiley in the face. So this is the way in which this particular individual knows how to depict her emotions. But it's not the same pattern that everybody are using. So here we're talking about life scripts. So life scripts are something that we write for ourselves. It's not that whatever we plan or whatever goals we set and whatever tries we make are going to be 100% successful, but it's that whatever hindrances we face, whatever obstacles we have, with the strengths which we have, we must somehow be able to work on that using problem solving strategies. It's not that I just break down and sit if plan A is failing. I should still be pursuing it by thinking about plan B. And I equip myself with good problem solving strategies. I equip myself with better coping methods. How do I cope with this challenge? And finally, I reach to a point where I really want to reach. So when we are really dedicated and we do smart work, we of course need to put hard work at times of need. If you really want to achieve something, put that extra effort is needed, and you are doing so much, you're trying so much, then definitely at some point we reach where we actually want to go. Maybe sometimes the period is extended. Suppose I think that in 5 years I want to be in this place. Maybe because of certain challenges it gets delayed a little bit, but it's not that it's not going to happen. So if you strongly believe that something will happen and you will make it happen, it will work. because it's all there in what you think. So, however, we tune our mind, we train our mind, that's how our life keeps functioning. It's something which I strongly believe. And the concept of transaction analysis also talks about life scripts, where you are the writer of your own script. It's not the astrologer, it's not your horoscope, or it's not your fate, it's not God or something else. I'm not here to put any religion down or anything. I'm not talking of that. I'm not touching that concept at all. I'm only telling you what the researchers, the theorists, other scientists, psychiatrists, psychologists, after a lot of analysis, people who brought this life scripts in the working model have conveyed is what I'm telling you. So there's someone who's crafted themselves as a puppet, uh, and so in play therapy, we inculcate such things like puppet stories, and they've written the story of that puppet. So you can look at clay modeling. Just have a look at it. People depict it in different ways. Not everyone makes the same kind of models. Sometimes for children to get in touch with clay is it's going to give them immense happiness. I've seen that with the adolescent population as well. In a particular school, there were children who used to just, I mean, the adolescents who used to like come down to my room to just play with clay. Whenever they're getting free period, the higher secondary, 11th and 12th, I was teaching psychology for them. So they want relaxation, they come and play with clay. So that gives them some 10-15 minutes, they play, they'll go back to class. So when that is giving them relaxation, I don't want to stop that. No? Emotional climate is how I emotionally feel. Outside it can be sunny, it can be rainy, it can be windy, whatever it is. But what I feel inside is very different. Do I feel warm or do I feel really cold? If I'm cold, then I don't take into consideration the emotions of what other people say. If I'm warm, maybe I'm more considerate. I want to include more people. Maybe I'm also in a place where I can reflect the warmth. So the character's name is Pinky of the story. So it's a puppet along with a puppet booklet, where the main character, who has depicted herself as a puppet, has written her life script. We will be taking up these activities. Here, there's a person who's exploring the individual's strengths, support system, desires. It's a middle aged woman again. People can have their own limitations as well. This mandala work also. people believe it to be giving a lot of relief. Um, in terms of focus, concentration, attention, and such things. We too in expressive arts inculcate it. But when I had a booklet of mandalas, but when I did a course from like which was conducted at Dindikal, a residential program, whatever materials they did, I inculcated it by using the. I mean, I was using the whole page from whatever it is. I don't like restrict. I don't like to generally restrict myself to that mandala alone. I want to like make some extensions. Was one pattern which I noticed in the work which I did. And the compliment which that there, I mean, the trainer gave me was that he told me that you're an out of a box thinker. So you don't like to be confined to that space. So making expansions. I color in between. I make expansions from what it is, and then I inculcate some other shades or some other thing into it. So that's again creativity, Like it's not that only I can do it. It differs from person to person. It's not that generally that you have to fit yourself into something like that. No, you can't be confined. Just you can't be space restricted because it's your piece of work and there's no right and wrong. You extend yourself, you extend your thoughts, your feelings. You want to explore more space is something which I always needed in life. So here we are integrating in the dance modality approach on different things. So it could be um, the climate, the hardships, the path on which that individual is walking. It's an actually an outline of body image of a person. The person has put charts together to depict that image. This particular is a college student. It's a case of a dance woman therapist. It's a college student who must be 19 or 20. So I think there are some age appropriate things in this picture where there is more inclination towards the estrogens and progesterones in the body. The person feels fertile, but at the same time, the person wants to be. Maybe the person is feeling threatened. Or there's a need, constant need to keep herself protected. So you can see a knife, you can see a bottle, you can see a shield, you can see that bag and arrow. All right. So in this particular thing, no, we generally include a dance movement therapy, and after the therapy, to just depict themselves in that image, whichever area they wanted to like cover up, and then like finally write about it using creative writing as well. So it was an intermodal approach, which when I teach you dance movement therapy and orientation, you'll be able to know what I'm talking about now. And it takes some time for us to understand, process everything. So yeah, I give it to you for some questions which you have. You can ask me if you have any queries. You can, if you're traveling, you can also type with whatever we did, because I don't want to like go on and on with theoretical explanations. Can I hear what you felt about it from all of you? What was your takeaway? Just take some time to just process all that information which you would have got, some new insights which you've got. You can just tell me, you can just give me your feedback about what was your new learning or takeaway from whatever I was talking to you for quite some time. You need more time?
No, it's not like that. We haven't done these activities, right? So we cannot comment. It's only the theory that you have given. So unless we do it ourselves, I don't know. We wouldn't know.
No, I'm not asking you to comment. I'm just asking you, everybody, when we are exposed to something, we have some takeaways, a little bit of takeaway at least, some new understanding of what it is and like how it felt when we are exposed to something. That is my question. Presenting different techniques help to get ideas on a blended approach. Yeah, thank you. And he was talking in terms of art and storytelling. That was Sridhar's takeaway.
What I felt was like most of the, approaches that we have mentioned here, they like, I mean, to my experience, which I've seen, like many people have been doing in the form of art, drawings, storytelling, especially which I've seen it in kids. I've not seen it in adults as of, but when I see it in kids, they do that kind of storytelling that they do right from their childhood. The way they depict their stories, their imagination, they use their imaginations towards storytelling, all the kinds of drawings that you have shown for under each approaches. Especially the one that caught my eye was that one drawing which on the was drawn on it
I
was a meditative state,
okay.
where it was the facial expressions were not, it was blank, the face was blank. I had seen that kind of drawing in, but what you had mentioned, it was for something, it was from an adult, that particular drawing, but I'd seen it in kids. Well, I mean, one kid which who, when I inquired them, like, why are you not drawing that particular face, why you're not filling the face, because that really gives the idea about what that particular person. I do know it is something like sitting down calm under a tree and all that stuff, but the face was not on. The similar kind of drawing only I'd seen a kid doing it. The reason that the kid told me was like, she wants to draw a peaceful face, but she didn't know how to draw the features. So since she's not confident about drawing the feature, she just left it blank. She just wanted to master that in order to draw it. So I mean, it was not as a part of a therapy and all that stuff. I mean, it was just one of my, within my family, one kid. So we were just working. I mean, just talking about it. So like, why don't you try to just draw an eye and all? She said like, I can draw an eye separately, but I don't want to draw it in the face because the drawing looks really neat. It is really beautiful to see, and I don't want to spoil it by drawing the features which I'm not confident about.
Hmm.
But since you had shown me like all these things, so just linking it with the experiences, right? It really shows, like, even the slightest thing that we think it is just normal, okay, they are just part of their growth, and all, there's something hidden meaning inside that, that really reveals to about their personality or of the emotional state, irrespective of the kids or the adults. Whatever they draw, it just shows their current state of mind. So that's what I felt like, so many approaches that we can uh, look upon.
So, in a very non offensive way, when we are able to ask certain things to people, maybe in a therapeutic session, maybe they're able to talk more about it. So, in my case, which I showed you, that person was actually feeling a lot of emotional numbness. But taking into consideration that the child's age and the child's situation, if you already know what they're going through, maybe it's easy for us to also probe them to get more information.
But this was before like I got into counseling and all that stuff. So even I was like just just go. I didn't know like it could be like, but only after getting to the counseling course I started learning many new things that we are really missed out all these years. We just thought, okay, it is just something that's going on. We are not. I don't understand, so I'm just going to leave it for now. But after getting into the counseling field area and trying to learning all the approaches, the way the emotions play, the emotions reveal our mind, our that need of help, even if they're not asking for it through words, their actions and their emotions really show us, that they really need this kind of help and all. So that it was a real big learning thing for me. So when I was able to saw this drawing and I was able to, it really reminded me of that particular kid.
Okay.
But she was like that. I mean, that time she was around 12, 13 years old. Uh, so I mean, since I didn't I mean, since I was not aware of it, I cannot talk about it. But maybe there was something we don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Um, So Sridhar says, as there are numerous art techniques there, I'm trying to see which techniques that I could adapt for my intervention study. I'm more oriented towards storytelling from childhood and also used art as my coping. So I'm trying to see how I can balance and blend these techniques along with REBT, which is my study focus. I believe during the course I'll get an idea. Yes, definitely you will. So I think there's a lot of things for us to process, and whatever we spoke has given us some new insights about what we are going to do for the next. The next. We've just began the course, so it's the next 1 month, and how we inculcate that in practice as a tool, that maybe we'll be discussing during the case study discussion.